Jalango Omogeni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also make my contribution to this bill. Mr. Speaker, I first want to thank the sponsor of this bill, Senator Miraj Abdullahi, for thinking about our children, especially the ones who become children of children. That's a correct English, children of children. And Mr. Speaker, any child who finds himself in this world deserves protection like a child who is born to adult parents, Mr. Speaker. So the biggest interest to look at, Mr. Speaker, here, the way they say, is the best interest of the child. I think the person that this bill is trying to protect is the child. And I want to join Senator Kajwang and Senator Ichungwa in making the country and the nation to know that the Senate is not discussing this bill as a way of saying that we want to encourage children to become parents. That's really not the intention, Mr. Speaker. The African Charter on the Rights of the Children is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that any time you are discussing a legislation, the paramount thing you look at is the best interest of the child. So as a caring nation, Mr. Speaker, sir, we cannot abandon the welfare of a child simply because that child is a child of a child. That will be reckless and being a very uncaring society, Mr. Speaker. So it's good, Mr. Speaker, to bring it to the fore that there are many ways through which a child can become a parent, Mr. Speaker. And I want to even give you an example of the very many unfortunate incidences that has happened in my county of Nyamira in the last 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, and I'm not trying to justify it, I don't even know what language to use, Mr. Speaker. Robbers attacked a family in Keroka, a village called Keria, Mr. Speaker. And this family were all staying together. The principal of Nyansiongo High School, Ezekiel Okay, the wife is a nominated MCA in the County Assembly of Nyamira. She's called Zipora Matundura. Their brother is a CC in the county government of Nyamira called Kennedy Angwej. And you know, Madam Speaker, just to demonstrate how heartless Kenyans, or let me say thugs within Kenya can be, they attacked the family, they robbed them of phones, ATM cards, went to the ATM machine and withdrew money. But the most unfortunate incident, Mr. Speaker, is that they defiled 2 young children in the presence of those 3 prominent citizens of Nyamira. You can imagine. I mean, you don't know what will be the result of such an incident. It could be unfortunate that those children may end up becoming, how do you call it, children parents. You know, I mean, through such a very unfortunate incident, you can imagine, Mr. Speaker, such a heinous crime being committed in front of such prominent Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Just yesterday, Mr. Speaker, at Kibirigo Market, a young boda guy called Abiud Matara, a hustler, after, doing his boda business during the day, was attacked, and killed by thugs in Nyamira. I've just sent a message, Mr. Speaker, to the CS Interior, and we are telling him that as leaders of Nyamira, we want him to respond to the insecurity that we are witnessing in Nyamira. But the relation to this bill, with what I'm telling you, is that this young man called Abiud Matara is a parent of some children somewhere. You may find that such children, Madam Speaker, if you don't have a society that is caring, you may have young children, maybe a daughter who is 8 years, because of that unfortunate incidents, somebody may engage in some acts of passion and become a parent, simply because you have lost your parent at a very early age. So, Mr. Speaker, when we speak to this bill, we are not simply saying that there are people engaging in pleasure who become parents at an early age. There are also other factors beyond our control, Mr. Speaker. And I hope if the CS Interior is watching this show, we need him in Nyamira like yesterday, Mr. Speaker. That's not normal. I don't think that has happened in Laikipia. I don't think you have seen those kind of insecurities in Bomet, Mr. Speaker. So we don't want to hear that every time the CS is out there addressing insecurity.
Senator Kinywa, what is your point of intervention?
This is fairly emotional. So your point of order, I hope, is in support of what's happening in Nyamira.
Give him the mic. Mr. Speaker, I feel senior counsel because Mr. Speaker, what he's saying is very true, and standing in support of him. But he's asked whether it happens in Laikipia. Mr. Speaker, it's true, it happens in Laikipia. These bandits, they attack. In fact, in one place called Kamwenje, these bandits attacked and then gang raped a Form 2 student, 7 of them. So, Mr. Speaker, I feel him and I understand.
Proceed, Senator Omogeni.
Thank you, Senator Kinywa, for empathizing and sympathizing with your brothers and sisters from Nyamira. That issue, Mr. Speaker, is really causing a lot of concern in Nyamira. I want to thank, I know I should not be saying issues on security in my contribution to this bill, but I'm relating this to factors that can contribute to very young girls becoming parents. If you lose your parents at a very early age, you don't have somebody to support you, it can lead to something else. Senator King, I want to thank at least the security operators at Nyamira, especially the DCC, Florence Obunga, and the DCIO, Paul Makonge, who this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, have given a directive, and I hope we will get the backing of the CS Interior for the transfer of all police heads within Kebirigo, Mr. Speaker. Because we don't want our young children, our young boys who are not able to get into formal employment, who are running border borders, Mr. Speaker, to be killed in the course of trying to fend for themselves, Mr. Speaker. So I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that if this bill is enacted and we have partnership within the national government and county government, it will be a good thing, Mr. Speaker. You know, you can't condemn a child, Mr. Speaker, to stop higher education simply because she has become a parent while she is a child. That's not right. These mistakes happen in life, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell you, I know prominent Kenyans, very prominent Kenyans, whose parents became parents when they were children, at 17 years old. But because they were given a chance to go back to school, Mr. Speaker, they were able to finish school, educate those children, and they are now prominent citizens in society. So there has been this stereotype in where we come from, in our villages, that if you become a child mother of a child, then your future is doomed. That should not be the case, Mr. Speaker. Let us accept that these members of society who may find themselves in a situation of becoming parents at a very early age should be given a second chance. That's why I'm very happy with the spirit of this bill, Mr. Speaker. It is advocating that these children should be given a chance to go back to society. More importantly, it's also advocating that we must take care of the welfare of those children. Because as the parent goes back to school, Mr. Speaker, we must take care of the child who is remaining behind, Mr. Speaker. We must take into cognizance that that child who has become a parent does not have the means, Mr. Speaker. If you go to some countries, advanced countries like Australia, Mr. Speaker, in 1967, they amended their constitution to have social support programs, whereby people become parents and you are able to establish to the satisfaction of the state that you are not able to support your child. The government will give you $1,500 every month to support your child. Because these children, Mr. Speaker, they are the futures of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. As we become adults, if war broke out today, Mr. Speaker, every Kenyan will be called upon to defend their country. So we must bring up the young generation, cognizant that our days in this world, Mr. Speaker, are limited. After 70 years, the Bible says, you only live with pain and suffering. So we must ensure that we bring up the future generation, Mr. Speaker. I am impressed, Mr. Speaker, that this bill brings to prominence the role that our CC play at the counties, Mr. Speaker, because they are the people who understand, the people who live in the county. We should not always, every time we want to solve a problem, Mr. Speaker, there has been this idea of saying we must run to the national government. Let us support devolution, Mr. Speaker. Let us give hope to our people that devolution came to change lives at the counties, and that devolution came so that we can resolve issues. I don't know whether we are doing, we are complying with the transitional clauses. I mean, with Schedule 4 on assignment of duties between the national and county governments, because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, the only role that is assigned to county governments on education is on ECD. But I'm seeing there is a proposal on this bill that the county government should also be involved in ensuring that a child whose mother is a child is supported to go to school. Maybe we need to interrogate the bill further if there are any amendments that can be made so that we make it constitutional compliant. We don't want such a good bill to die because it is unconstitutional. Very impressive, Mr. Speaker, with the idea of establishing care centers, Mr. Speaker. This happens. You know, if you travel to industrialized countries like US, child care centers are all over, Mr. Speaker. But this one is really dedicated to taking care of children whose mothers are children. Very, very progressive bill, Mr. Speaker. So I hope that we as senators will support the enactment of this bill, but we do it with caution. We are not encouraging our children. I know Senator Kenywa agrees with me. We are not encouraging our children to become parents at an early age. We must always advocate what we are told in the Bible, that love is patient. Wait for the right time. So, Speaker, we don't want boys to tempt our girls and tell them that the senator is passing a bill that if you get a child, the government will support. Because it can also have a negative impact in society, Mr. Speaker. We must, the Sexual Offences Act must remain in force. We don't want adults, Mr. Speaker, to start having mothers who are underage, Mr. Speaker. So the law on having sex with a child should remain and be enforced. The only interest this bill should look at is the best interest of that child who has found himself or herself in circumstances where the mother is a child with no income and who also wants to pursue education. So with those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support and hope that CS Interior will take urgent and immediate action to address the issue of insecurity in the county of Nyamira, Mr. Speaker. We live in a very small county, Mr. Speaker. If this trend of killing our people in Nyamira continues, Mr. Speaker, we will be depleted, Mr. Speaker. So this is a serious matter, Mr. Speaker. As I said, I've had a discussion with the CS Interior on behalf of the leadership from the county of Nyamira If you followed what happened today, there was a big security meeting convened by the DCC and the DCIO at the Kebirigo market. He must have received reports on the concerns from the citizens of the county of Nyamira, and I hope that sooner than later he will make a visit to the county of Nyamira so that he can address the issue of insecurity. We want to live in a country where we can peacefully go around doing our day-to-day activities without fear of being attacked by people who don't want others to do their businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator.